Welcome, OBR viewers and listeners. Welcome to Pete and Joe on Tuesday, November 27th. My name is Joe Mazzillo. This is my man, Pete Smith, and we're here to break down our Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens game. And, well, geez, Pete, let's just dive into it. What did you think about Shedeur Sanders on Sunday?
If I can't have a good football team, at least I can be right. Is my takeaway. It's exactly what I thought was going to happen. And look, I would love nothing more than Shedeur Sanders to be successful. And I expect he's going to play this next week, and I hope he's great. But he was never going to be good in that game, ever. And look, even if he makes the throw in the back of the end zone and hits Isaiah Bond and scores a touchdown, the game was still largely awful. It would have been a great moment.
Yeah.
Great ball, all those things. Or if Gage Larvinain comes up with that catch, even though there were open receivers elsewhere.
Yeah.
All that would have been great. And don't get me wrong, it's fun. But so much of this was just dispelling the utter stupidity that was surrounding this whole thing. That had nothing to do with Shedeur Sanders, the person or the player, but the grift that people were constantly using with this kid, alleging conspiracies by the league, by the team that drafted him, by the head coach specifically. And the fact of the matter is he's nowhere near ready, which was apparent at every step of the way, from college to the draft process to the preseason to now we got to see it, even if it wasn't a fair scenario. I mean, look, I think what we got by being sort of thrust in the lineup like that is we got every one of his worst tendencies, because he's just trying to survive at that point.
Yeah.
So I would say he can get a lot better in a week by having a plan and having these other things. But if things go badly, you could see the same thing. So, it continues to confirm what I thought before the draft. He throws a beautiful ball.
Yes.
Has a number of throws in his arsenal that other guys don't have. But he has no idea what he's doing outside of that.
Yep.
None.
Yeah. Well, look, I feel like that's okay, and that's okay given the situation that the team's in. Because I mean, Pete, for my money, look, was he terrible? Yeah, he was bad. He's the sole reason we lost that game. We had a healthy lead. He turned the ball over. The offense wasn't even stagnant. It did not move until that almost very last drive, right? There was one in the middle where Judkins ran the ball a little bit. We got a little bit of movement there. But for the most part, the passing game was a complete negative. We lost yardage because of the sacks, all that stuff. It was the perfect storm. It was just like that Rams game. It was literally Shedeur coming in, not being prepared, and all of the bad things that he does with the football as a quarterback get magnified at this level. I get all that. My whole thing is, Pete, aren't we better off letting him work through these issues? Look, it's not like the offense is thriving under Gabriel. It's just as ineffective. It just looks a little better. That's my whole thing. Why not take these lumps in the road now and give Shedeur this last half of the season to prove whether or not he's going to be worth it in the long run? I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a long way to go with him. But realistically, the talent throwing the football is there. And that is real and that is legitimate. If we can square up all that other stuff, is that not worth looking into for the remainder of this season?
If he plays like he did this week, next week, no. It's over.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But
there has to be a real improvement. He has to look reasonable against the Raiders.
Agreed. But think about it like this. This is his first NFL action. This is his very first NFL action. He's only going to get better from here on out. He's only going to get more comfortable with the speed.
You better be right about that. It gets worse. It gets worse.
I agree with you there. But I mean, look, in terms of the eyeball test, right? He looks more physically capable than Gabriel. The throw to Fannin. Don't roll your. How are you going to roll your eyes? We've seen the same thing.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw what I saw on Sunday. I saw it. Look. I agree with the idea. If he gets bet, and I've said this, people have asked ATI and stuff how would you do this?
Yeah.
And I said straight up, if he looks as abominable as he did this past week, you have to go back to Gabriel because there are other guys in the locker room. You have to be able to walk in that locker room and look them in the eye.
Yeah.
But if he gets better, fine.
I mean, that's my whole thing, though, Pete. Is what are we talking about, though? Going back to Gabriel, like who in the locker room is going to be pissed off that we went away from Gabriel for a quarterback who can't produce? Gabriel can't produce. The wide receivers are largely ineffective unless they, throw the ball Jerry Jeudy's way 10 times. He'll get 6 catches for 50 yards. Like, what are we talking about? I mean, I get what you're saying. And in terms of if the Browns want to win this Sunday, I mean, yeah, I would start Gabriel over Sanders if everybody's healthy and you have to win this Sunday. But for the future, what the hell am I doing developing Colt McCoy? Sanders is more talented. He has a bigger upside. Like, that's all I'm saying. Like, doesn't that make a little more sense?
Well, listen, if you're really trying to lose football games at this point, then by all means,
first of all, I didn't pick the quarterbacks, Pete. All right. I don't care if you want Gabriel or if you want Sanders. They're in tank mode right now. Both of these guys are going to get you the number 1 pick. Who offers more long-term? That's my whole thing about it. I agree that Sanders was awful. I want to see more because I see more there. Like in a month from now, in 4 games from now, I expect Shedeur Sanders to be a much better quarterback than he is right now. I don't think he's going to be a good NFL quarterback, but from where he is right now in a month, if he gets every single game and stays healthy, he's going to be a better player. I will say this. He could not ask for a better setup right now. He could not ask for better. The Raiders suck. Did you watch the Raiders? First of all, I am a big fan of your optimism sometimes, Pete. But the Raiders suck when they're trying to guard CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. And Javonte Williams is like circa UNC in the backfield right now. Like, it's a good offense.
All right. I'm gonna take Max Crosby off the table. Name another Raiders defender.
You can't do that.
No.
You're going to take Myles Garrett off the table.
No. All I'm saying is I take Max Crosby off the table. Name another Raider defender.
Devin White.
Who?
Devin White, linebacker.
Okay. Well, Devin White, who's awful.
He's a top 5 pick, Pete.
He's legitimately terrible. Like, this is the problem. It's like they're just awful. And Max Crosby's a phenomenal football player, and their pass rush is terrible. Their pass rush is terrible. The one thing that they should be able to do, they're terrible. They are genuinely bad. And don't get me wrong. Like, I agree with you. The Cowboys offense, George Pickens is tap dancing, and I don't hate the national commentary talking about worst trade of all time, even though that's preposterous. One of the worst trades of all time to say George Pickens from the Steelers is one of the worst trades of all time. But I don't hate that the conversation's happening, or that he's not doing that for Pittsburgh right now. As much as I understood the thought process of get him the hell out of here because he's insane, I don't hate not having him in the AFC North. By any stretch, because there were times where that would pop out on the Browns. So but like, all I'm saying is, of the team of the opponents on the schedule you could pick out for Shedeur Sanders to play his first ever start against. Yeah, how many are worse than the Raiders in terms of defense?
I mean, realistically, we could have waited a couple of weeks and done the Titans. I agree with you.
Because we did this in the terms of talking about Dylan Gabriel. Like, the whole thought process was, let's get Joe Flacco through the first 6 and then let Dylan Gabriel play the Miami Dolphins. They obviously didn't do that and threw him against the Minnesota Vikings, which was challenging. But of all the landings Shedeur Sanders could get, this is pretty soft.
Yeah, I agree.
Gets the full week of reps, hopefully. As I said, the second, and I assume the Browns are doing this, but the second Dylan Gabriel went to the protocol, it was Shedeur all the way, because let's say he gets out by Thursday at best.
Yeah, it's too late.
And that's at best, because usually it's Friday. Like, he has missed all those practice reps. And you mentioned this before, like last week, talking about, I don't hate the idea of Dylan Gabriel sitting for a minute and getting, having an excuse to have him sit for a minute. I don't hate that either. So give him the reps. Let's see what he can do, because I think what we will get, at least the script, and maybe a little more if he finds some comfort, is what we saw on basically about 2 throws in that game. He took the snap, ball came out, And okay, like I think he can do some of that stuff. And I think with a plan, he's less inclined to immediately get into doing all the awful, awful habits he has.
Yeah.
Now, if those things do not work, or it gets to a point where like he's starting to get uncomfortable because things aren't working, I think it could take a very bad turn. Simultaneously, I think if he has success early, I think that could portend some good things, and it could allow him to get a little bit of a groove going. And we could see the positive elements, and we could see the things that he could do well, because to your point, he can throw. Like I don't doubt that there's some element where there are receivers going, man, if he just stops running backwards and actually throws the damn thing, I'm excited about what it can do.
Yes.
So is there upside there? Yeah. Do I love the situation? No. But I will repeat, if he plays, if he's not noticeably better with practice and a little bit more comfort in a game plan, everything else that's working in his favor against a bad team, it makes it very easy for me to go like, listen, you've got to help me help you at that point.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that. And if the Raiders game is basically a rinse repeat of the fourth quarter of the Rams preseason game and then the second half of last week, like, yeah, if he's just going to take hits and get himself banged up, you got to protect the kid. I agree with that completely.
He may get himself killed in that standpoint and force your hand anyway.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
He literally was in there for about 30 seconds and was slowly picking himself off the turf at one point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's only, look, we know how tough the kid is. We saw him get his brains beat out for 2 straight years at Colorado and keep getting up and keep going back in it. But NFL defenses are a little bit different. And he's a giant compared to Gabriel, but he's not a big guy. And if he takes those hits the way he's been doing, he's not going to last very long. The whole thing for me comes down to the fact that I don't think we're getting enough out of the offense with Gabriel at quarterback for me to be like, well, we can't suffer any setbacks from, Shedeur figuring stuff out. The offense, it's not like it's a well-oiled machine, and putting him in there is going to sputter everything to a halt. Like, that's my only contention. If we had a veteran who could actually run the offense, then yes, the veteran wide receivers and tight ends are going to be like, get this kid out of here and give me an adult who can get me the football. I just don't think we have that guy, which is why it's worth it for me to take the more talented player that has an elite trait in his ability to throw the football with accuracy. I want to develop that. Like, that's the only stance that I have right now, is that I see positives, and I see it being worthy of developing Shedeur for the rest of this year. And I don't see that with Gabriel. And I mean, maybe that's just me being jaded because I didn't think he was the guy to begin with, but like, I haven't seen enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with Dylan Gabriel as it is every week. He had a couple really nice throws, a couple nice plays. Like that play to set Tillman was awesome. Yeah. But then you followed it up.
The one where he rolled out and he hit him on the run was nice. But the other one where they booted him out and it was just a quick throw down the seam was a great throw. That was the best throw he's made as a pro.
That second one was great. The problem was it 2 plays later, he then dirts a 5 and out to Harold Fannin, and you're just like, this is sort of the Dylan Gabriel experience for me. It's like, I see the good things you're doing. You can't then follow that up by missing the layups. Yeah. And I'm not, it's an NFL throw, a real out, not necessarily layup, but those are the plays you have to be able to make consistently for me to like be invested in saying, let's build this thing. The big argument for Gabriel is he doesn't go backwards, and punts are better than picks. And they obviously scored 9 points with Dylan Gabriel as opposed to 0 with Shedeur. Neither of those is a winning formula.
Yeah.
But
I would say they scored 3 points with Gabriel, and then the rest was thank you defense. I mean, I get what you're saying.
It's true. That is true. I mean, the thing is, like, the thing with Dylan Gabriel is he will give you a couple drives. Yeah. Like, and again, it's not enough. It's not enough, which makes it very easy for anyone, certainly me and you, to say, okay, I'm curious what you see. But I just cannot have Shedeur Sanders spend another 4:00 slate going backwards and throwing stupid picks and doing the stuff he does. The ball's got to come out of his hand. And like that we're going to know very quickly with that element, because I'm hoping he's watching the tape, and it didn't sink in Colorado. I'm praying it sinks in now. NFL guys are really big and fast and strong, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm none of those things. I'm literally none of those things. I'm not a good athlete. He had the one really nice move, which he got outside the pocket, and that was his chance, and he missed the throw. And if had he made it, that would have been everybody. We'd be talking about that for the next 4 weeks.
Yes, we
Unfortunately, missed it. But the ball's got to come out, and he's got to understand what he is. He's a pocket passer, and he has to be able to embrace that because there's real talent there if he does it. But my fear is he's not, and it's going to take him some real hard learn. It may take him getting drilled and killed and injured ultimately before he figures that out. And I think it may take some offseason work. But I'm willing to see how it goes against the Raiders. And if it's better, then I'm going to keep rolling with it. If it's not, if it's Dylan Gabriel, if it's Bailey Zappi, if it's you, I don't care. But he cannot be that bad again.
Yeah. So I will agree to a certain extent. But again, this comes down to what was the offense doing before Shedeur got there. And if the defense doesn't if the defense doesn't throw them an alley-oop, Pete, they don't score. They just don't. Like that's like the crux of our offense right now. We've gotten a couple of opening drives where we were just on time and it worked and everything hit and everything was executed and we scored. But like when we're off script and it's our offense versus their defense, we have to move the ball downfield and score. Our offense is incapable. So that's the only reason that, like, even if he struggles against the Raiders, I want to see more. He's going to get better. This is a reps issue. And you're right. There's a lot of work to do because you're erasing 2 years of bad habits of him having no running game, not a pro offense, running around for, like a chicken with his head cut off, trying to make throws and make plays. That's not NFL football. He's got to be rebuilt from the ground up, and I feel like he has to do that on the field.
Yeah, the big problem I have in arguing even for Dylan Gabriel is when the Browns went into the half 16-10, my thought was they didn't get enough.
Yeah.
And I was not confident that Dylan Gabriel was going to win that football game.
Yeah.
All I can say is that he would have lost it slower than Shedeur Sanders would have. And maybe they held on because the defense was playing that well. Now, there's two parts to that. How much did you really want to win that game? Mm-hmm. And then the other part is, he could have still lost or made his own mistake. Like one of my points with this whole process of like trying to, having sort of a sane take on this whole thing. I've seen Dylan Gabriel do every single thing that Shedeur Sanders has done wrong. Shedeur Sanders just speed ran them all in the course of about 5 minutes.
Yes.
That is a problem. Now, the other part is, and you sort of alluded to, what the hell is Colorado doing? People were talking about hiring Deion Sanders as the head coach of the NFL team.
Yep.
One, they are quietly 3-7 again. He's being asked about going to the kid's game because it's in Vegas. Okay, well, you've got Arizona State and you're a 7-point underdog. Yeah, and if you lose, you're 3-8 at that point. Like this guy, people were talking about him being the Florida State head coach. Mm-hmm. People talking about him being an NFL head coach. And look, I get some of this. His health problems are real. I mean, cancer is no joke. Like, that is a huge stumbling block. But like the detour for that program in the course of about 6 months is enormous. I mean, they retired his jersey, man. Like cartoonish. But I'll leave it at that. Like there was no development. He has played so much football and he knows nothing. It's criminal how badly he was handled. Yeah.
And look, I mean, I can't argue that, and as the chat's pointed out, I mean, look, these are the first 2 quarters of his career. There is a lot of harsh criticism. There's always going to be harsh criticism on the NFL level, but you have to take everything with a grain of salt. And look, I don't think anybody can argue, and Shedeur wouldn't argue it. He had a terrible, very disappointing first foray into the NFL action, but I mean, it doesn't matter. This is chapter 1 of a very, a several chapter story. It's a quarterback. He's going to get better with every rep and all that stuff. It's always going to happen. It's just they have a small window to really put a stamp on the potential job for next year. Otherwise, you're going to head into the draft with what looks like locked into a top 3 pick at the moment, and you're probably going to be able to take a quarterback. The likelihood of them taking a quarterback is high. Like, it's just the reality of the situation. These kids only have a couple more months to make a claim.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Like, nothing would make me happier than Shedeur Sanders comes out and he throws 6 beautiful balls in a row, and the offense is cooking, and it looks like, 200 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
I hope that's a scenario, because at least it would be finally entertaining to watch this, as opposed to, and don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoyed that football game as much as I hate losing. Like, that was a fun football game for reasons we'll get into, but like, I would like to see this offense be able to be fun, at least for a minute in this year. So if Shedeur Sanders can do that, great.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you. And before we dive into the game and do the position by position thing, I'm going to make a statement, and I don't know. I don't think this is crazy. I think Myles Garrett has a legitimate flag to plant in the greatest pass rusher in NFL history argument. I just think that you do. If you look at the statistics, if you look at the most amount of sacks for a player before he turned 30, and then you look 6 straight years of 12 plus sacks, like, sweet Jesus, man, how lucky are we, with as bad as the Browns have been, to go from Joe Thomas, who is a top 10 all-time left tackle, never missed a snap until the very end of his career when he got hurt, to then Myles Garrett. Like, that's 2 all-time and elite weapons in the trenches, man. That's a lot of fun. And Myles is just so incredible to watch right now.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in the conversation for greatest pass rushers ever. I think he's got a chance to catch Bruce Smith if he wants to. 200 sacks. Deacon Jones is the one you don't know. No one's. I don't know if his account has ever been made official, and he played in a world where you could literally go upside people's head. Yeah, and famously, poor Deacon Jones said in a video interview on tape, if you go upside the head of a man and then made sure to equivocate, or a woman, then explained what the head slap actually did to stun them. Yeah, I mean,
that's a very dated statement.
Yes. Look, he was ahead of his time in terms of equal rights, I guess. But yeah, not a great moment for Deacon Jones. But yeah, Joe Thomas has been on record. He thinks he's already the best, like the most disruptive pass rusher ever. And look, what I've said sort of coming out of this game is that, like, you're seeing the individual stats have Myles Garrett where he's on pace to blow away the team's record for sacks in the season, which he already owns. He's got a shot at single season sack record. But to me, this year, his sack production feels more of a team stat than it ever has in his career, because up to this point, the defense has been either awful or limited enough where he had to be Superman to make these plays. Like, it took some superhuman effort where he had to beat the guy so fast to get back the quarterback, or he had to do something crazy like that Indianapolis Colts game he won by himself for, like, I think it was 2020, where he went like 5 games in a row or something like that, where he had a sack, fumble recovery.
I think that was 2023. I think that's when he was on that, like, tear.
No, there's one. It was one of the earlier years we literally had like some insane run. It wasn't 2023. 2023 it's insane for any other reasons. But like this time, he's getting the easy sacks that all the other guys get that he never gets. Yep. Because, like,
there's nowhere to go for these quarterbacks. Yeah.
So like you watch the 4 sacks he had in that game. The first one, the Ravens are trying to roll away from him. You see Isaiah McGuire and Mason Graham completely take that away. Mm-hmm. Lamar Jackson sort of has to slide back. He can't step up in the pocket, and Myles Garrett just comes out from behind and takes him out. The second one, he is he obviously does the freakish thing where he throws the Roger Rosengarten out with one hand, but at the same time, you got 3 defenders are completely disrupting the pocket, led by Mike Hall Jr., who's just absolutely drilling Tyler Linderbaum into his lap. He got nowhere to go. Mm-hmm. So, gets the sack there. And then 3 and 4, Mason Graham beats the hell out of somebody, flies up. Lamar Jackson has to avoid him on one of them. Malik Collins takes away a path of escape, and Myles Garrett wraps him up. On the other one, there's somebody else in there in that same scenario. But like Myles Garrett had all these incredible plays, but he's getting the support of having a real defensive line. And like his one super individual play was he absolutely smoked the lineman on what ended up being a read play, and they gave it to Derrick Henry and he just killed him. Like that was the one where he was super individual as opposed to everything else, which is facilitated by teammates. So that's the level of his dominance is unquestioned. His pass rush run rate is basically the same as it was in 2023. But he's getting the stats that he didn't get because he didn't have to do them by himself. And it's showing the value of the investment that they've made with Mike Hall Jr., with Mason Graham, who's really come alive for these last couple of games. And I think, I don't know that the advanced data more or less supports it, but I do think that was his best game of the season.
Yeah, no, Mason's been real tough the last couple of weeks. Malik Collins has been good all year. He's not quite as good as he was in the beginning. He started off like gangbusters, but he's still playing at a high level. And yeah, we need Alex Wright to get healthy and come back. But I mean, Myles finally having the support. I mean, how many times have we watched him, run and all that stuff? It was a one-man show, but now you've got the D tackles collapsing the pocket. You're getting pressure off from the other edge. If they send a blitz, Schlesinger's been unbelievable on blitzes this year. Like it's just, he's got a ton of help and he's playing at such a high level on top of it, man. It's a lot of fun to watch. All right, well, let's scoot into this Ravens game now. Let's talk about the offense a little bit. We'll do a half by half deal with the quarterbacks. We'll start with Gabriel in the first half. So he played pretty clean in the first half. He really did. I mean, he missed some throws and he didn't move the ball a ton, but he made 2 nice throws, 2 downfield throws, both to Cedric Tillman. I want to say Tillman had like 3 catches for 50 yards in the first half.
Well, I mean, Cedric Tillman continues to show himself to be valuable. When he gets the ball, he does good things. I think he does create some more space in the offense because he's credible. He gives you somebody else that you have to take seriously other than just Jerry Jeudy on the outside. I think that makes a big difference. I think his size is valuable. And yeah, like if you fall asleep and you don't cover him, like what happened on that explosive play in the second quarter, he's going to punish you. And that's critical. And like, again, I think he's probably more suited to be a really good number 3 wide receiver, but like, so long as he can stay healthy, I'm really excited about him as a number 3 wide receiver. I just think he does so many things. He can play inside. He can play outside. He does a nice job getting open. He can block, does a lot of dirty work. I just wish his hamstring was more secure, I guess, or whatever. Yeah. But I like what he's doing from that standpoint. And then, the Jerry Jeudy element continues to be frustrating from in terms of just raw production, but I like what he creates on offense. Like, it's one of these things where people are going to hate hearing this. If and when they fix the other things on this offense, I think Jerry Jeudy's going to bounce back being really, really productive again. But we're just not where we need to be in that. And then after that, Isaiah Bond, I like what he can be. I like him.
Why is he active ahead of Thrash? That was a head scratcher to me.
So I think this came down to special teams more than anything. You just do the numbers. One, Cedric Tillman sort of changed the dynamics, and then Isaiah Bond coming back from the foot injury. I don't know that I necessarily justify Isaiah Bond being as active and part of the offense as clearly the Browns do, but they do. Because he frustrates the crap out of me in terms of some of the stuff he does. Like, his speed is awesome. Yeah. He can get open down the field. And there were clearly another game where you sit there and go, man, Isaiah Bond's open. I wish they could get him the ball, including, obviously, one of the last plays of the game.
Yeah.
But, like, he doesn't have great awareness when the initial play breaks down. And he does stuff like you give him a jet sweep and he runs out of bounds at 8 yards. Like, what are we doing?
That killed me. Put your head down and get the first down.
Well, I don't even care about that. Like, it went from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 2.
Yeah.
It's not like we're down by either we're not up by 3 scores and we're not down by 3 scores. We're up. I think we're up 6 at that point. Stick your foot in the ground and go continue to get yardage. And it's just like, what are we doing here? Why are we content to just go out of bounds there? Like, you're the anti Quinshon Junkins and Harold Fan and Malachi Corley and these guys who are fighting and clawing at every single inch they can get and will punish you all the way. And we're just like, no, I'm good. 8 yards is fine. Like that, and that's he doesn't. Again, it's Alabama, it's Texas, now it's the Cleveland Browns. Like, these issues continue to follow him. This is why I've always been very cautious on what he can be in terms of weapon. Oh, he can be, your 3rd round value, all this stuff. I think at best he's always going to be a frustrating wide receiver 4.
Yeah.
And if they can get a good quarterback and get him the ball downfield, you're going to be okay with that, because occasionally it's going to produce 60-yard touchdowns. But these are the things you sort of sit there and go, what are we doing here? Like, you want touches, right? Well, do something with them. So that's, now we're already at 3 wide receivers. Malachi Corley is their jet guy. Like, and I would not sit him down at this point. And then after that, they had Caden Davis, who was utilized for special teams this week. And who's the other one? Is that everybody? I think they just had 5.
Gage Larvadan was out there as well.
And obviously he's on special teams as well. So, I think this coming week, I mean, they waived Caden Davis. I assume they'll sign him back to the practice squad. My presumption is that, and I don't see a reason why they would promote him and then they will roll with Thrash. I think it literally came down to they had to fill a role with Caden Davis. I think he was doing some gunner stuff since they had just waived and then re-signed Trey Avery to the practice squad as I guess, punishment for, he was a major offender on the punt return touchdown the previous week. So this is one of those things where you just don't have a lot of spots available. I guess the other part that I was surprised by was, and I don't know that there was ever a great answer to this, but I assume the answer, it's special team, is they promoted Cameron McGrone. I don't know that they sat a linebacker, and they promoted Sam Kamara, who I don't even remember getting used. And Cameron McGrone's big contribution, unfortunately for him, was tearing his
ACL injury, right? Or Achilles.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was special teams specifically for something the Ravens doing, or a concern over not having enough linebackers with what they do offensively with the amount of tight ends they use or whatever. Yeah. But that was the other part that sort of stood out that might explain why you end up with a weird situation. You only get to take 46, and why Thrash was there. It's annoying that Thrash isn't playing because he's a guy I like seeing and I would like to see more of him. On the other hand, it does reinforce the message. You got to work. They don't have enough great receivers that you can sit there and say that, oh, these guys are all guaranteed spots. So if you want to be a guy like Thrash, you need to practice and work hard to make sure that you are active for the week.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing that's disappointing about that scenario too. I'm not going to pretend to know Thrash's deal, to know if he's capable of playing on any coverage units or contributing on special teams beyond, certainly not a returner, but I have a hard time sitting down what I believe is your 3rd best NFL ready wide receiver. Like, in terms of a wide receiver that can run the full route tree, he's not going to make a ton of mistakes. He's not going to kill you. He's not going to be a hindrance. I put him behind Tillman and Judy, but ahead of everybody else. I just trust him more.
Well, here again, the one I have a tough time with is Bond. I get it.
Yeah.
They see him as a field stretcher.
Yeah.
And a guy who creates space, which they need. I mean, they desperately need it. And then the other guy that they clearly think is a nice part of their offense and had more opportunities to contribute is Malachi Corley. He is clearly the jet guy. He is the guy they like to have on that. They use him not only on manufactured touches, but he's become a big false key for them in terms of being a motion guy where teams have to think about if he's getting the ball or not as a way to create misdirection to other things. And I'm fine with all that. Like, I know that Kevin Stefanski's been looking for this player basically since he got here. I think he's actually found it. with Corley. There's development that needs to be done. But if he never gets better at anything else, he's still got a use on this team, and I think he can still be productive and be a pleasant surprise rather than where they are right now, where we're sitting there going, man, I really hope they get Malachi Corley something here, as opposed to, hey, the Browns are throwing the ball all over the field, and all of a sudden, oh, here comes Malachi Corley. One more thing we have to think about.
Yep. No, agreed. And look, Corley was a 3rd-round pick just a year ago. There's clearly talent there. There's clearly ability there. I mean, and we're excited about the prospects of, Jamari Thrash, but Corley was drafted 3 rounds ahead of Thrash. Corley's a talented guy. He's a good find for them if they can pan it out. Let's talk about the running game. So Quinshon Judkins had a nice game, but again, man, it's just like they can't crack 3.5 yards a carry. It's even less. I want to say he was at like 3.2 for the game. Dylan Sampson finally got outside on a run. That was nice to see. It's nice to see him get a little space, show the legs, show the juice. I mean, what do you think is the biggest issue with the running game right now? I mean, obviously, besides the 8 and 9 man boxes, but what do you think is the main issue?
Man, that's it.
Yeah.
Even on the broadcast, they straight up said it. The Ravens told them in pregame meetings that they were not going to let Quinshon Judkins beat them. They were going to force. And obviously, they were talking about Dylan Gabriel. They said Dylan Gabriel to beat them, and then that became Shedeur Sanders. That's it. They are not credible enough elsewhere, so they're going to just destroy the line of scrimmage with as many bodies as it takes, and make sure that component doesn't beat you, because he's the only credible, consistent threat they have. So, and the frustrating part is, there was a situation, there at least one situation with Shedeur Sanders. I'm sure there's always some with Dylan Gabriel as well, where he's sitting there at a wide open check down with space, and the ball didn't come to him. Like, we all sort of understand what a threat he is as a runner, but like, you got to take advantage of him when he's got opportunities and space in the passing game, because he's right now your best weapon. So less guys in his way should be a gimme, and it wasn't, unfortunately, with Sanders on that particular play because his eyes were on the wrong place. But that's the component where somehow, some way, they've got to get him going in other capacities that aren't just running. And the problem is what you're running into is they're having a really difficult time running screens because there's so many guys just standing around up there that they're either attacking the line of scrimmage or they're sitting there waiting for the Browns to run a screen. They obviously tried that with Shedeur as well, and that almost became a fumble because they were just waiting for it. So those are the problems you run into, is they're just taking away everything basically 5 yards in until they're able to create some of these other opportunities, which is why you're able to get the big play to Cedric Tillman and some of these other opportunities. That you just need to do more of those things. And, if it's Shedeur this week, and I hope it is, I'm hoping that's part of what we get from him, is at least the ball's going to go further down the field and force the defense to at least be honest to it, so that they have to at least be honest to the concept of, hey, they might throw this deep, so I at least have to go back, which should then create some space underneath. Allow Harold Fannin to be more productive. Allow Quinshon Judkins to get more space. We saw the one play where Dylan Sampson had space. I continue to believe that he's going to be restricted as long as they have a difficult time finding him space. But when he gets space, he's going to be a much bigger contributor. And unfortunately, until that happens, I think Malachi Corley is probably better for what they do right this second with those touches.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the tight ends. So not a ton of action this week. I mean, obviously, it was between, the first half, the offense was good in the first half, but they didn't have a ton of opportunities because they got the ball so quick and are so close to the end zone a couple times. Not a ton of production from the tight ends. Do you think that Sanders, I was just going to say, do you think that Sanders can elevate that at all? But realistically, we're going to go into this game as blind as possible, because we don't really know what we're going to get out of Sanders.
Yeah, when he went in, my initial thought was, well, they never ran with tight ends in Colorado, so I have no idea what he's going to do. But then he throws the ball down in the middle of the Fannin, and throws it in stride. I mean, ultimately, I think as long as his eyes are in the right place, I don't think he cares. I think he's going to throw it and largely be accurate for it. So as long as they have play designs that get these guys open and his eyes just go to the right place and he makes the right throw, I think they can be successful. But like, there were a couple situations where, eyes were in the wrong place and he missed open opportunities or forced balls or whatever, or just didn't throw them. That's more the component I'm worried about with him rather than necessarily the personnel. If his eyes are in the right place, I think he can do some really good things with the ball. That's going to be the whole key. And I'm curious to know and find out how the Browns are going to try to streamline him to make that as effective as possible. I assume that a lot of that's going to be trying like hell to make the number one option open and available as often as possible. But I mean, which goes to reason, but like if they had a great quarterback, then 2 and 3 and all these other things, there's less pressure to get the number one guy open and he could be a decoy. Whereas now we want to go to 2 and 3. I don't know that you have that luxury. And I don't think that, realistically, I don't think that was necessarily all that different with Gabriel either, but obviously it's clearly more of a focus for Shedeur is to get that. If he creates something with the number one receiver is open, it's on time and he can deliver. I think he can do some really good stuff with that. And Harold Fannin, that's the other question I have with him is just because of, where they were on the depth chart when they started. How many reps did he get with a guy like Harold Fannin? I mean, he noted in the press conference, and we saw it quite a bit. He had a lot of comfort with Gage Larvidan. He may have some level of comfort with Jamari Thrash. I don't know. I think Harold Fannin probably spent about 2 seconds down there on that area of the depth chart with him before he was gone. So he may not have a lot of comfort. And
it was just rookie OTAs, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, that you're not wrong. Like, I think that was probably about it.
I know. So how about the offensive line? Now, we lost both Cam Robinson and Jack Conklin in that game, and I'm sure we'll get full details tomorrow. But what's your early inclination on that? Do you think we're going to be down the 2 of them?
All we got was day to day. We'll see. We shall see. Really, I'll be looking like everybody else on the practice report and seeing if they're DNP or if they're limited. Or
Lucas is still down with a toe, right? That's his issue.
Yeah, I don't know where they've been holding him out. Yes.
Yeah.
I have no idea where he is, but this has been an issue he was dealing with dating back to the summer, unfortunately. And I don't know, if resting him is ultimately going to get him where he needs to be. I hope that's the answer because he is a credible tackle. Like this is, I know how badly he's performed because of the foot. He was a really good tackle last year and just has not been able to show it. The one that terrifies you, obviously, is KT Leviston, who, couldn't execute a simple down block and got beat across his face, and it absolutely blew up a play down in the red zone and really killed the Browns because, everybody's saying simultaneously, the Browns should run the ball as often as possible, and then they do those things, and they're going, oh, why aren't we creative and all these other things. Like, I can't make it any easier than that particular play. Then you got to down block and not let this guy beat you across your face and right through. The offensive line in general, they had the one play where it looked like Jack Conklin clearly expected Wyatt Teller to be there and help on Kyle Van Noy shooting inside. It seemed like either Wyatt Teller thought he wasn't supposed to be there and Jack Conklin was going to get it or something, but clearly there was a miscommunication there. Dylan Gabriel sacked almost immediately because he just didn't block him.
Yeah.
By and large, other than that, on like 4-man pressures and stuff, they were okay. The problem is, especially when we got to the second half, and this is the thing that Shedeur is going to have to learn to deal with and figure out some solutions to real fast. Basically every single play that the Ravens wanted to, they just sent the house.
Yeah.
And played cover 0 and said, we're going to send more guys so you can block. And it obviously makes the offensive line look bad and whoever else is trying to pass protect. But the fact of the matter is, it's coming and you've got to be able to have an answer and get the ball out. And he just didn't have those things. And if he doesn't have those answers against the Raiders, we may be in a similar situation. If he could just do it like once or twice, just hit the quick slant or the necessary check.
Just get him to back off. Burn him one time on a blitz and make him think about it. Yeah.
And this is obviously something that I've been waiting for and pleading with Dylan Gabriel to sort of do in terms of being able to tack down the field is there's so many guys here because you're never giving them a reason not to be. Mm-hmm. So that's not, it sounds easy. Hopefully it will look easy, but that is the challenge that they're facing, is just trying to get the ball out fast enough and get it to playmakers in a way that's going to allow you to take the pressure off. And, if it's not a screen, it may be some sort of convoluted double screen or something, or a quick receiver screen or something like that, in addition to trying to get the ball, catch, step, throw down the field to try to keep them honest that way. But they've got to come up with solutions for that because it's coming.
Yeah, and Pete, we got a question in the chat asking if the Raiders have the horses to blitz on every play and find success, or can we be better? I would definitely lean towards we can definitely be better against them. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, the bottom line is if they send 7, how bad can they possibly be where they're going to get home if you don't have the answer? I mean, the Raiders don't have very good defenders, but they're NFL players, and to this point, Shedeur has not shown that he's good enough to beat NFL players. So that's the rub. If he can figure it out, then look, I think they can go off against this team, but he's got to prove it. And that's going to be a big focus for this week. If it's obviously there's only so many reps on the practice field, that's always going to be challenging, but he's got all kinds of time in terms of film room and just trying to come and walkthroughs and all those things where are my answers? What are my hots? What's my go-to if this happens? He's got to have real answers for that. And if he does it, then they could be great and immediately start to build something there. If not, a very long day.
Yeah. Well, and that's, the thing too, is you have to imagine that the entire team, top to bottom, whether it's the coaching staff or the players with them, I mean, that's going to be the emphasis on Shedeur all week, is get the ball out quick. Have faith. Get us the ball. Dump it off if you have to. If you see the blitz, like you said, have an answer. They're going to throw lots of stuff at you, and they're going to blitz them, especially after the Ravens having as much success as they did. That's the playbook right there for the Cleveland Browns. It's no different than Dylan Gabriel. They're going to load the box. They're going to attack the line of scrimmage. They're going to make you beat them through the air. I think he can do it eventually. But, I mean, you nailed it. If he doesn't have the answers and he tries to be an athlete, he's going to move us backwards. He's going to get himself hurt, and the offense is going to be ineffective.
Yeah, I'm curious how the Browns try to deal with that. I mean, there's an inhumane way to deal with it, which is put a shot collar on him, which probably against CBA rules.
Could you imagine? That's a great idea.
After 3.5 seconds. No, but I mean, it may be a simple reality of they have a clock, and whether it's an air horn or just a whistle or whatever, play's over. If the ball's not out, it's over. And like on some level, that's supposed to be what 7-on-7 is. But even going back to when the Browns were doing 7-on-7 stuff in like spring and summer, I would still see him do the same crap. Like he just hold on to the ball and roll out or something, and then like dump it off. And it's like It may look okay in terms of 7-on-7 for somebody who doesn't know what they're looking at, but you're holding onto the ball too long. The ball's got to come out. You have to have an answer. So I'm hoping that's the major emphasis, like something that sort of tells you, no, you failed immediately, as opposed to we're going to keep doing this. So hopefully they can get more reps doing it that way too. I don't know, but that clearly has to be a big component for them, because he cannot hold onto the ball as long as he did. In the preseason, I think he was trying to hold on to it for like an average of 4 seconds. I think even in this game, it was well over 3. It's unrealistic for what the Browns have and what teams are going to do to him. He's got to be able to, if he can get out 2.5 and be in the right spot, he's going to be absolutely killed. He's going to kill them.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It's all about playing on time with him and, just basically getting caught up and acclimated to NFL speed and NFL defenses. There's going to be a ton of crap that he doesn't see or hasn't seen every single Sunday for the immediate future. It's just the reality of the position. It's the reality of the player, but if we can see that incremental progress, even if it's minute, just anything to build on. I agree completely. All right. Before we tackle the defense,
Be sure to check out Browns 3D with Jeff Lloyd weekdays at 6 p.m., guys. Jeff's got it Monday through Friday, everything coming out of Berea, all the best hard-hitting Browns action you can ask for. Jeff Lloyd and Browns 3D, 6 p.m. Monday through Friday here on the OBR streaming network. All right, Pete. So we talked about Myles' greatness and how, the defensive line playing as well as they are is basically feeding into his numbers and his chase for the single-season sack record. You still hear a lot of people, pardon my language, bitching about Mason Graham not being enough. This kills me, man. This kid is he's playing fantastic. I think he's been a great pick. And granted, it's not on the offensive side of the ball, which is the crux of most people's issues. But I don't know. I'm thrilled with Mason Graham.
The last 2 games have been really good. I thought he was he has like 8 pressures in the last 2 games. He had like an 88% 30% pass rush win rate against the Jets. Wasn't quite that high against the Ravens, but he was doing damage. Really good against the run. The thing, if you actually watch the tape and you watch the clips of him, his hands stand out every time. He's so good at understanding how to attack. He's got heavy hands. They jolt people, and then defenders start to get, or I should say blockers try to get like overset for him. And when he's a pass rusher, he'll occasionally just feint, swat the hands out of the way, and he's already in the backfield. And that happened twice to set up sacks for Myles Garrett in that game. He also just whipped a lineman and stuffed Derrick Henry in the backfield. Like, he is delivering what they need him to do. I get it. Like, people can sit there and complain about the statistics in terms of like raw sacks because he has 0.5 sacks. Well, here's the problem. Right now, he's losing a race to Myles Garrett. And even when he's not losing the race, the guy he's moving the guy off the spot to set up Myles Garrett. Like, I hate to point out the obvious. Myles Garrett is extraordinarily greedy when it comes to sacks because he's going to take them all if he can help it. He's got 15. I don't know what the rest of the team total is, but it's not very much. He's got basically all of them. Malik Collins has a couple. Alex Wright has a couple.
I think the Ravens as a team have 14. So
like the 49ers have 12.
Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 teams with less sacks than Myles Garrett. It's unbelievable.
I think there's at least one team that has less sacks on the season than Myles Garrett has in the last 3 games. And that's the thing. Like, it's very easy to get frustrated and go, well, why isn't he doing? Well, because 15 sacks. Myles Garrett takes literally all of them, and he is facilitating. But like, his run defense is really good. He's really good there, and that was never really a question for him. It was largely a question of how would he hold up because he's basically 22 as a rookie. How would that part translate? Well, occasionally he gets moved off the ball because guys are just big and can sort of lean on him. But overall, he's so quick to the point. And what you're starting to see now is he's in on more money downs. They're increasing the amount of third downs he's in because initially you're sort of like, well, he's going to be in on, most of the rundowns, and then they're going to bring in other guys because they got Malik Collins and Mike Hall Jr. and these other guys who are more primed to do that. They're really not doing that. And what's really interesting is the amount of times where, Mason Graham will be lined up in like a 3 on third down. And somebody else is inside, or they'll get a different fronts and stuff and use him. But like, he's really, I think, I thought it was reasonable to expect this. So many guys run to the rookie wall. I think for him, the bye week sort of helped him to reset and accelerate his development. I thought he was playing reasonably well right before the bye week. I think the bye week has happened, and now he's sort of accelerating his development curve into a way where I don't think he's just the guy on the field. I think early in the season, he flashed against the Green Bay Packers, which was good. Minnesota was a line in shambles, so he made the most of it. Beyond that, I think you can make the argument, well, he's reasonably average. Now, reasonably average when you're 22-year-old defensive tackle,
it's pretty good.
It's not a joke, but it's also not 5th pick overall. You're starting to see flashes of why anyone would be excited about him, why people are sitting there going, he's the 3rd best player in the draft. Short arms are always going to limit him, but his hand usage is allowing him to close up so much of the gap. And his pass rush win rate is slowly increasing. He's becoming more threatening in that capacity. I think he's up to nearly 10% or somewhere in that neighborhood. He is at, because I look at this stuff, one of the few things I really like about PFF is how good they are. He's at 9.8% pass rush win rate. Malik Collins is 14.6. Alex Wright, 10.1. Mike Hall, 11.1, which is really good for an interior player. Isaiah McGuire, 10.6. So he's at 9.8. Like, that's pretty good. Yeah. Now, is he Myles Garrett at 27? No, he's not. He's not 27.
Is that all? Is that all Myles is at?
And the other guy who will jump out at you, who I really want to see back on this football team, is Cam Thomas, who's at 19.4. But for a rookie, and Mike Hall was very impressive at this last year, but that was his calling card coming out of college, was he's going to beat blockers. Mm-hmm. Mason Graham is right where you need to be. And if he plays really, really well, he's going to hit the benchmarks, I think, that are necessary to sort of put him in line to be in the Derek Brown realm. And these guys, or Marcel Darius would be another one of those. And obviously he's not as big as those guys.
Yeah.
But in terms of just, it took them a minute to get going. And then by year 2 and 3, they were really, really good players. And now they're some of the best in the league. I don't know, just how far he can go, but like the fact that we're seeing this now, and I think he's going to absolutely crush the Raiders. They are playing awful offensive linemen this week. But there's a lot of matchups coming up where I think he's going to be really, really good. And I think he can improve and have a really strong finish to the year, regardless of what his statistics say. But just in terms of efficiency, his third down efficiency or his true pass set efficiency is not great, but it's improving. Those things are all indicative of things I want to see out of a player who, you bet that much on him.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, one of my favorite things about him, you mentioned the hand usage, Pete. He's a former wrestler. That's all about leverage, knowing your body, knowing how to use your body weight and your leverage and all that stuff. And you can just tell he's got such good body control. He's got great feet. The hand usage is fantastic. Like he's so much fun to watch. I think he's only going to get better. A really big fan of the way that this line is coming together. And if you think about the fact that Mike Hall is still not 100% and not even close, and he's still flashing the way he's flashing when he's getting in there, that's going to be such a nice piece once he's 100% and fully comfortable. Like the future of this defense is so nice that it's like any thought about changing coaches like makes me like pause, because I love what we have on that side of the ball so much right now. I love Jim Schwartz. I love what they've done with all the youth that's been infused into the defense this year. Just like I'm a fan of it, man. I really am.
There's some things I love about Jim Schwartz, and there's some things where I sit here and going, it kind of frustrates me. I love what he does with defensive linemen.
Yeah.
And Mike Hall, whatever health he's at, he was killing people in that game, and obviously had his own sack in that game and looked better from that standpoint. They're not giving him his full load of reps yet, so I think they're easing him in. But they have the horses to sort of let them do that, which is fine.
Yeah.
Jim Schwartz in terms of coverage stuff is where I sort of go. I feel like there are coaches who have sort of a better handle on how to shut down passing lanes as opposed to trying to play full on man coverage. I can't help but wonder if there is an evolution to be made there. And I'm not certainly not advocating Jim Schwartz got to go or anything like that. I'm all for keeping the coaching staff, but I don't, without getting rid of any of the coaches necessarily, because this is the other part. I really like Jacques Césaire as defensive line coach. Jason Tarver is the GOAT as the linebackers coach. And I really like Ephraim Band as the safeties coach. I would be curious if there was a way for them to sort of come up with some better answers to some of their coverage challenges. And that may be a personnel driven thing at this point. That is sort of the thing where I sit here and go, there are times where I'm just like, it just irritates me as much as I absolutely love everything about Tyson Campbell and could not be more happy with that move. And I think they're getting really good play out of Grant Delpit, and I think Ronnie Hickman's coming along. I think at some point they're going to have to talk about a contract. Obviously, all of these things don't get talked about if they fire everybody and then have to figure something else out. But if they are intending on keeping this group together, then yeah, you probably get to talk about Ronnie Hickman and a contract. So yeah, I mean, there are things where I sit here and go, look, I've listened to Jim Schwartz gives clinic talks. He's extraordinarily well prepared. He gives, he knows what he's doing, but I do start to wonder about just if there's not that he's behind, but if there's something else he can do to sort of carry that thing forward. And one of the things I am encouraged by and want to keep going is if this is what it is, and they're sitting at 2-8, so it is, use it to figure some stuff out and figure out what else you can do with this defense that's going to work. So we're not coming into training camp next year, presumably they're all here, and going, oh, we've got a great fastball. We're still trying to figure out these other things. Figure them out. Figure out at least some of them now. Figure out what doesn't work. And if that gives up some plays, and it does, because they're trying to do some zone stuff, and God bless Denzel Ward, there's certain things he's just not very good at.
Yeah.
Then fine, figure it out. If it comes down to, hey, we want to run some zone stuff, but Denzel Ward is never going to do any of it because he can't tackle and he's not very good in spacing. We're just going to have him play man on somebody and everybody else can play zone, so be it. But I'd like them to sort of figure out what those other pitches are that they can throw and start honing those pitches in as much as they're trying to do these other things, because we saw it against the Dolphins and we're starting to see it in some of these other things. It's gotten them beat at points. It obviously got them beat against the Jets at one point.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens beat them at one point in a similar situation. The one tweak I have that I don't like is when they send these big blitzes. Seemingly the running back is never accounted for. They obviously got crushed by Breece Hall doing it. And then I think it was Keaton Mitchell this time that was sort of left out in space and was able to get a big run. But I'm okay with this tweaking and figuring out and coming up with ways to better utilize the talent they have, because to your point, and with the draft picks they've made with Hall, with Graham, with Schlesinger, with finding Aiden Huntington, with getting Myles Harden, who is anybody talking about slot corner at this point? Or are we just with Tyson Campbell and what he gives you? These guys aren't going anywhere. So you have the ability to sort of be like, this is the group of guys I'm going to have. I can continue to figure out and manipulate this. And all the off season's going to be, what are they doing on the offensive side of the ball? All this and the other stuff. And there's a part of me that's going to be sitting there going, what else can they do on this defense to set them up so they're not just this overwhelming, overpowering unit against bad teams, but have now figured out a way to absolutely torture the good teams.
Well, the only pushback I'm going to give you on that, Pete, which, I mean, you didn't say anything that's wrong. It's just they're playing every game this year with a hand tied behind their back. They have no help offensively. So isn't it almost like they're a dam? They're just trying to hold back the water as long as they can before they eventually crumble?
Well, listen, are we trying to win or aren't we? So this So there's a part of me that says we're not. There's a part of me that says Jimmy Haslam comes in and goes, just do whatever you want. Just do whatever you want. Just figure it out. Get better. And then take that restriction off. Take the governor off. And it's I totally understand what you're saying. But they are still mixing in these things.
Yeah.
So I like that little interplay. They're playing really tough defense. They did a lot of really, really good stuff, but they are mixing it up.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying I like that. I'm hoping it's going to come up with some better answers and hopefully some better answers in coverage. Obviously the Ravens, they have different personnel than they had in that game, but the Ravens absolutely killed them in the first game through the air after 3 quarters, basically.
Yeah.
The Patriots got after them a little bit. There have been games where they've had some issues. Okay, that's I want them to just keep figuring out and pushing and prodding and seeing what works and what's not going to work. I don't have a problem. If it gives up some plays occasionally, I'll live with that. They're not giving up touchdowns for the most part. So I'm okay with it. And if they do, and the biggest thing we go is, well, the defense did pretty good, but they gave up a couple plays because they're trying some stuff, and the Browns lost, and we're sitting here going, well, I'm kind of looking at the draft order already. Then
that's okay.
So especially if like we're going to be in a situation where realistically, I don't know what you're going to expect out of Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel at this point, and you're just sort of like, like this comes down to what ownership really wants and what they really think. But if Shedeur Sanders is terrible against the Raiders, does he basically go, well, it is what it is, and I really need a quarterback or something along those lines? Again, I'm not necessarily advocating that they lose. I just don't hate it if they do, if they're doing it for a purpose, in this case, trying to figure out how to make the defense better.
Yes. I agree with that. And if we look, I feel like it doesn't matter who we play at quarterback. I know what we're going to get out of it. It's just one half of that I have a little more hope for and a little more potential with, I think. But realistically, we have a quarterback situation that is aiming directly for the number 1 overall pick. And I don't know what's going to happen with this team if, as is, they play Tennessee in whether it's 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know. That's not a game that I feel comfortable that we're going to win. I just don't. I don't care how bad that Tennessee offense is and how easily our defense can put Cam Ward in a blender. I don't trust anything. So, like, I get it. I get this number 1 pick stuff. I absolutely do. And before we shuffle over to linebackers, I was looking in the chat to see who brought it up. I couldn't find it. I agree with you completely. Pete, Carson Schlesinger, lifetime contract. I'm ready to get this signed. I think we should do it before the weekend.
Well, look, I think he's everything you could possibly want from we don't really know the kid, but we like to think we know the kid. Everything I've seen from him, I love. I love the little thing they did with the UCLA Ohio State matchup where they're asking me to bet. They're asking why, if he's confident in UCLA and then won't bet. And then he's got 6 Ohio State guys all talking noise about how Ohio State's going to absolutely drill them, which they did. And then at one point he called them, that's a prideful bunch there. It's just awesome. Look, I think he's running away with Defensive Rookie of the Year at this point. If he's not, I don't know who is. Yeah. That's in my rearview mirror at this point for him. I'm focused on rookie Pro Bowler because, and everybody will say, well, the Pro Bowl is a joke and everything else, but I'm talking on the first wave, not 5th injury replacement guy, and rookie Pro Bowler is no joke. Like making the Pro Bowl as a rookie is not easy. There are plenty, obviously Baker Mayfield shared offensive rookie of the year with Saquon Barkley. I don't think either one made the Pro Bowl for that season.
Didn't Saquon win that outright? I thought he won it.
They split it.
They shared it.
But so there are lots of guys. I mean, obviously Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson was an exception where both guys were just sensational as rookies, and Sauce Gardner, I think, went all pro or Pro Bowl or whatever. But nevertheless, I do think there's something because all pro is so difficult. You get 4 guys between first and second team all pro. There are 4 guys you can make an argument. I think Carson Schwester looks the part of an all pro linebacker. I think if he stays healthy and continues to play for this team with the way the defense is set up, that masks his weaknesses and just accentuates everything he does well, I think he has that in him. But I do think he is a Pro Bowl linebacker this season. I don't say that lightly. I don't just try to throw guys in the Pro Bowl, even if I do think it's largely a joke because of the way it's selected. I do think rookie Pro Bowler means something. And I think if he gets that, people will take notice and say he's really earned it. But we are 3 weeks from whatever kind of high ankle sprain or whatever he suffered, 4 weeks or whatever. He records 4 solo tackles on the opening drive of the game. He's the only guy making any tackle in space in that drive because it was not good. He there's one play where he gets widened all the way out. Lamar Jackson tries to scramble and then he comes all the way back and tracks him down. He ended up with 8 solo tackles in the game, which included chasing Lamar Jackson down a couple different times. Obviously, and Lamar Jackson basically stopped running, gave up. whether that's an injury thing or just being like, I'm tired of this.
And he bully balled Mark Andrews on that interception. He threw Andrews down. That was amazing.
I think that was Charlie Kolar.
What's that?
When he went up, I think it was Charlie Kolar. He out jumped. I don't know if that Andrews was involved after that, but
I thought that was Andrews that he out jumped. It was Kolar.
I think it was Kolar that he beat for the jump ball off the Mike Hall tip.
Kolar is an Iowa State kid, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Big boy.
Yeah.
He had a couple of incredible reads where he just came downhill and just destroyed Derrick Henry. And by destroy, I mean good form tackle, not like.
I mean, but it's Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean, like they are
good freight train, dude.
They are good form tackles where Derrick Henry just goes boom. It's not, and they're not kill shots, but there's stops. He's not going any further. He gets right to his legs, good form fit, and takes him right to the ground. He's doing everything. He does everything for this team, and then. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders throws that god-awful interception, and you're sitting there going, game's over. This is so much the thing with this team is anytime something goes wrong, we're back to the game's immediately over. Yeah. The next play, he goes and gets the ball and says, "No, we're still in this." But like, we're running out of things to say with him on a defense that has a lot of really talented players. He's everything they could want, and now you've got people sitting there going, "Well, what about?" What if JOK comes back? And I'm right there with you. I don't know. I think we're getting to a point where, with JOK, it's a question of, I don't know that we're getting any major health updates. At some point, he's going to try to put on the equipment and try to hit somebody, or he's not.
Yeah.
And if he does that, and it doesn't terrify him, and he gets through it, then he will come back and play. If not, I think we'll get an early indication if they re-sign Devin Bush, which. Obviously, if you get them both back, you've got one more stud player, which would be freakish with everything they're doing with just him.
Oh, yeah.
You get them both back. That's insane. But Devin Bush is obviously a good player. And I like the fact that, obviously after a week after he had that egregious holding penalty, he's able to rebound, get the tip, pick six, and sort of, get some moment of redemption for himself because, for a long time, it looked like the Browns had total control of the football game in no small part because of that play.
Yeah.
They were just absolutely all over the Ravens from the word go.
Yeah. And, it's an interesting thought with JOK potentially coming back. I mean, you have to wonder if he is able to do what you said, if he's able to put on the pads again and he's in a good mental state and he's able to hit and he's able to do everything. Man, if he could get back to what he was, dropping him next to Schlesinger in this defense now, the way that it's built, sweet Jesus, that'd be a lot of fun to watch, man. Because before what Schlesinger has done this year, I was absolutely blown away with how effective JOK was and how instinctive and how quickly he can shoot into the backfield to make a play. He's a witch, dude. Like, that's like the most disheartening thing about all of it. You obviously, you feel for the kid because that's a horrible thing. Thank God he got paid, right? Mm-hmm. But if he is able to come back, he was such a special defender. He was such a unique dude. So much fun to watch.
Well, before the injury, he was on his way to an all-pro season. There's little question of that. And then the year he didn't make all-pro but just made the Pro Bowl, he had 20 tackles for loss.
Mm-hmm.
20. Now, it would be a little bit more,
at 220 pounds?
Yeah, it would be a little
bit more pads on.
It'd be a little bit more competitive to get 20 tackles for loss, but the threat alone, given what they have, is obviously freaky. And then, it's another question of can we, obviously Carson Schlesinger is be able to contribute a little bit in coverage. Can JOK do more of those things because you have so much talent up front that it allows you to be a little bit more versatile in the ways they utilize those guys. But obviously the speed and everything else is incredible. But if he never plays again, no one can blame him. If he does, great. I love that. I at the same time, as much as I love JOK back, I'm not sitting here going, man, the Browns don't have anything at linebacker. They are loaded.
Yeah.
Diabate, one of the sacks Myles Garrett had, Diabate ended up double teamed. Good job on threat assessment on that one. But yeah, I mean, he ends up in the back.
Sack number 4. They're doubling Mo Diabate.
Yeah, you got to get the tight end in the back out there for Mo Diabate. But he's a kid. He's a really intriguing player because of all these things he can do. and they just haven't been able to really utilize him. They're trying to get him more snaps. He's getting on the field a little bit more. We saw a ton of linebacker usage in this game. Like Jerome Baker played a lot. Obviously Bush and Schlesinger, and then Diabate. Like they used a ton of guys in this game at that position. So like certainly more is better, but like, yeah, if they can get him back, he would obviously take the Jerome Baker role and then start, and then they would have to make a decision on Devin Bush. But they're in a great spot there.
All right. Well, let's do our usual shot around the AFC North. Let's talk about Cincinnati-Pittsburgh, Pete. Let's talk about Jamar Chase and Jalen Ramsey getting into it. What was your take on that one? I mean, Pittsburgh controlled the game pretty much whistle to whistle as far as the score is concerned, but Flacco had a bad pick six. What's your take on that Bengals game?
I don't think either team's very good. Like, obviously the Bengals defense is horrific. Joe Flacco, this is the thing. Like, it was going to happen at some point where he's going to, go back down to earth a little bit. The Steelers defense played better. They should. They've got $1 billion invested in it.
Yeah.
So that part of it wasn't, it was going to happen at some point. The Steelers certainly better at home. As far as the Steelers and Bengals in terms of Jamar Chase, Jalen Ramsey is at that stage of his career where he's just an antagonizer, and he can't control himself. But then he managed to get that to transfer over to Jamar Chase to lose his mind.
Yep.
And spit on him. Like, one, it's clear as day what happened. Two, you've got it in 4K, so it's not like you can hide from it. And then you like finally on that, he appealed. Like, it would not shock me if the league comes back and goes, okay, 2 games. Like,
we're going to double down on this because you're an idiot.
Like, what are we doing? It's not they
4K.
They made the precedent very clear with Jalen Carter. You did the same thing, and not only that, you got it to work because you got Ramsey ejected at a point in the game where it could have mattered. Obviously, it didn't in the end, but it could have in that scenario because at that point they're down him. They could have scored on that drive, gotten a touchdown, and been right back in it. They obviously didn't. And now the Bengals go to the New England Patriots without him. That's probably not going to go well for them. And they're trying like hell to get like to a point where Joe Burrow can come back and Trey Hendrickson can come back. And then, they just put their rookie Shamar, whichever Shamar it is, on IR. He's out for a little while. Stewart. It's real bad. And then what's worse is the element where Jamar Chase has put Zach Taylor in the position where he's got to take all of it because Zach Taylor is the only guy who ever speaks for the Bengals. The ownership never comes and speaks. The GM doesn't come and talk. So Zach Taylor has to be that guy and take every single bit of it. And he looks awful, but he simultaneously has to protect. He cannot lose like Jamar Chase in any form or fashion in terms of trust or anything.
Yeah.
So like a guy who's already there, more than a small number of Bengals fans who want Zach Taylor fired, now has to be put in this horrible position where he's trying to like he's clearly defending him and then sort of half conceding that it's bad. You look like you're losing control of everything when your star player who's making a gajillion dollars and literally losing a game costs him $500,000. It's not good for them. And then simultaneously, Pittsburgh gets a win. Obviously that's helpful for them, but like not Ben Roethlisberger, might as well be. Aaron Rodgers has a wrist fracture.
Yeah.
He wants to play. I don't see how he's going to, at least for a couple of weeks. And now we're back to mustachioed Mason Rudolph, who looked okay. I think that's going to be a situation where a team now gets a chance to prepare for Mason Rudolph. It won't look quite that good, but he's basically right in that Kenny Pickett bucket of quarterback, and the Steelers have been able to win with that in the past. So I don't, know that it really changes all that much.
I was going to ask you, does that move the needle for Pittsburgh in any direction? I feel like they're the same team. I mean, maybe a little bit lesser at quarterback, but not enough to lose them games.
The only thing that Mason Rudolph does a little bit more than Aaron Rodgers is he will throw the picks. He is a little bit more in terms of making more at risk for making the big bad decision. That's obviously why he's not their starting quarterback, is because he will do that. And even in the preseason, like, he didn't look as good as Skylar Thompson did, just in terms of decision making. And at some point, Mason Rudolph will do something stupid and make people want Aaron Rodgers back. Like, that's just his move. Now, he may throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and do it up to that point and make people very happy. But at some point, he will make the big decision that kills them. Obviously, he's not an answer, but I think he's okay enough to get them through if it's 2 weeks or whatever it is, while Aaron Rodgers gets healthy. The problem is, I think Aaron Rodgers is a little bit nervous that Mason Rudolph is good enough to make people wonder if he should be the quarterback.
Yeah. No, I mean, and especially, you've heard rumblings the last few weeks about Rodgers coming back next year even, like it almost started the season off like this is going to be a swan song. But, I mean, you're absolutely right, and maybe not necessarily that Mason Rudolph's going to outplay him, but he's going to play just good enough to see that Rodgers isn't offering you a ton extra. You're not getting a ton more from him,
That's my biggest fear is that Mason Rudolph looks good enough that they tell Aaron Rodgers to kick rocks, and they don't. I want him sign him to a 5-year contract. Let's go. $75 million for Aaron Rodgers. Let's guarantee it. I would love that. Continue to live this lie.
Get him on a package deal. The two of them. 10-year deal.
I would love for them to continue living this lie of having a super old team and just never making that step forward. My fear is that they're going to sit here and go, we're not really any worse with Mason Rudolph, and we can sort of chump change our way and then potentially try to at least start taking swings and maybe find a better quarterback option. I hope Aaron Rodgers is their answer. I just think it's going to keep them in that same mediocre lane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it stands reasonable to happen. You know what, Pete? Let me ask you this. I almost texted you on Sunday, but I was too busy, throwing out a myriad of F-bombs. What the hell happened to the goddamn Chargers, dude? You had one job.
I hate the Jags so much. Why can't you be the Falcons? Why? Why can't you be the Falcons? Falcons. Oh, we're gonna win the division this year. Yeah. What? Where's that? Where's that at? Go win the division. Give the Jaguars your awful juju. It's incredibly annoying. Like, obviously the Chargers were a little bit perilous because they don't have any offensive linemen left, and the Jaguars at least have a defense.
Yep.
But like the Jags aren't good, and it's just like now, my saving grace.
I was really hoping Trevor Penning was gonna fill that gap, but it just didn't happen.
And like the thing was, like, there was no drama there. It wasn't like they waited around. It was like, nope, they are getting blown out real fast. You don't even have to worry about it. And like, I'm sitting there angry because I'm thinking of all the people who prognosticated that Jim Harbaugh was going to have the Chargers in the AFC Championship by year 2 in the Super Bowl.
If he had an offensive line, he might. Okay, this is something to at least discuss.
Yeah, the defense did not come through like I hoped they would, and I'm just incredibly frustrated with the way the Jaguars are going because
and their running game is freaking tough, man. I really like Bashal Tutin to bookend with Etienne. Etienne's tough. That's what they're doing right now is they're playing damn good defense. They're running the ball. They're winning the turnover battle. And it's like Liam Cohen hasn't been there long, but he's been there long enough to know I got to keep the ball out of Trevor's freaking hands and we're going to be okay.
Yeah, it does not help the Browns now, obviously, because the season will work itself out and that'll be it. I want to know where Trevor Lawrence is playing quarterback next year because I don't think it's going to be in Jacksonville.
I don't think so either.
Well, I mean, or if it is, it's in some combination with doing something else.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Liam Cohen's I don't think Liam Cohen's thinking to himself, I'm not sticking with this. I am not going to continue down this path with Trevor Lawrence because he's not very good. And which is going to, depending on where the Browns finish in the standings, is going to prompt multiple conversations. The same conversations that were floated this past year of, hey, should the Browns trade for Trevor Lawrence or Kyler Murray? Now, at least this time around, it won't involve number 2 overall, but it's still going to come up as, hey, is this the veteran option you should go with? And my answer to that is immediately probably not.
Yeah, I saw a potential trade floating on the socials. It was Kyler Murray to the Browns for a 2nd-round pick, a 3rd-round pick, and Shedeur Sanders.
Nope.
I wouldn't even trade Shedeur for Kyler Murray.
I would trade Shedeur for Kyler Murray, but that's the problem. Is like me taking either of those guys is a favor to you.
Yes. Oh, 200%.
And it has to be treated that way. I am not giving you real assets to get the guy you were trying to get rid of. Screw that. Yeah. It is you. I am doing you a favor.
I'll give you a 6-pack of IPA and a conditional 6th-round pick. That's
right.
It.
Like, yeah. So if it's you want to trade up Shedeur for Kyler Murray, okay. Like that's about as far as I'm willing to go. Or conditional pick. And
dude, I wouldn't even do that. I think Kyler is poison. I think he's absolutely poison. I think he's the antithesis of being able to do anything on schedule. He's like a magnified version of Caleb Williams. He's drop back, run around, figure it out. I got nothing for Kyler Murray. He's a wonderful athlete. He should probably go play baseball. That's just where I'm at.
Well,
you know?
I don't know if he wants to play baseball anymore because he's made more than enough money to play COD for the rest of his life.
I was gonna say, he could just be a streamer. Okay, I'm just saying.
So neither of those options sound very good to me. But those are going to be. I promise you, those are going to be conversations.
Yeah.
Now I suspect if I had to suggest a favorite, assuming Pete Carroll is still the coach of the Raiders next year, one of those guys is going to end up in Las Vegas at this point. And I'll be honest, again, in a world where the Browns aren't in position to take a quarterback, I would take Geno Smith if I could build.
I would take Geno in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would absolutely make that move as a short-term answer. Geno Smith is a really good quarterback stuck on a god-awful football team.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll be curious to see how that works itself out. But yeah, the Jaguars, I don't know who they play this week, but I just
Arizona.
God,
of course. Yeah.
Well,
don't worry. They still have the Tennessee Titans twice, Pete. Don't worry. That right there, that's 9 wins. They're already 9-8. They're already 9-8. God damn it.
Jacoby Brissett threw for 450, 3 touchdowns and lost.
Yep.
By 20. How did I saw the score. I saw the score and it was 42-22 or whatever the hell it ended up being. And
I thought Trey McBride had at least 30 receptions. He threw 55 completions or something. I thought there was no way.
All I saw was the score because the Browns were obviously on at that time. So I got a text in a different thread that goes, Jacoby Brissett threw for 450. I'm like, wait, what? How did they one only have 22 points and 2? How did they lose by 20 points?
NFL record completions, dude, by Jacoby Brissett. It's amazing.
Well, maybe is Marvin Harrison supposed to be back this week because I need him to really go off this week. They've got the other dude who's doing well.
Yeah, just trade him for Michael Wilson, dude. He had 15 for $180.
Arizona. God, is it at least in Arizona?
I think it is in Arizona.
That we got a shot. Arizona is a tricky place to play. Arizona's tough. So look, I'm still pissed at the Raiders. I mean, to lose the way they did, it's killing me because here's my fear. To sort of delve into this, Jordan Tyson scares the crap out of me because of his body. Medicals are going to be a question mark. He's currently dealing with a hamstring, and I'm already dealing with Cedric Tillman's hamstring. I can't do 2. So I am down to 2 guys I love in the first round, which is Mekhi Lemon and Carnell Tate. It's real difficult for me to believe that they're going to be sitting all the way up into 20.
You never know. You never know.
Well, Mekhi Lemon's the one where the NFL does stupid things and then sees really good receivers and just lets them fall down the board to
like Jalen Reagor and Justin Jefferson. Like that.
Well, one? Or just JSN. I mean, that is what Mekhi Lemon sort of profiles to be. and lets a guy like that slide down the board. And then I'm sort of like in this world where, okay, if they get the quarterback and then there's a really good offensive lineman there, then I can get potentially Chris Bell the second round, and like, okay, that's fine. It's not Mekhi Lemon or Carnell Tate. And Mekhi Lemon he's my preference. He's absolutely.
How do you like Boston from Washington?
He's okay. He's very specific.
Yeah.
Because he will drive people nuts because he's not going to, I don't think he's going to run fast. Now, to be fair, neither is Mekhi Lemon. He's just a dog. But what worries me a little bit about Denzel Boston is and maybe it's unfair, it feels like he's too much of a jump ball guy for me. I don't like that. I want a guy who can do a little bit more. Like, I really like Ted McMillan because he was so smooth. And maybe I probably need to watch more of Denzel Boston. Maybe he's better than that. But I'm a little worried that he's sort of a not overly athletic, big guy that might work, but may want a quarterback that's just specifically suited to that. Like, I've seen the idea of he'd be a really good fit with the Patriots and Drake May styling. And that may be the case. Like, again, I need to watch more of him. Yeah. But I get a little worried with that style of receiver that they're sort of limited in what they can sort of do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would say this. I think that's an element that this offense could use in terms of like a jump ball wide receiver. Like, because the only size we have at receiver is Tillman. He's not really that guy. We've got David Njoku for that. And look, I like Njoku, but I don't think he's quite as natural as a receiver as I would like him to be. Like, he's very capable and he's very, very good. But he doesn't strike me as a really dominant high point guy. You know what I mean? Like, he makes plays and he's a big body and everything like that. But I don't know. He's always like, you said it in the past that he's very linear and like, he's very like track and field to me. Like, he's an exceptional track and field athlete that is able to play football at a high level. I don't necessarily believe that he's a natural receiver and this comes naturally to him. I feel like he's worked for a lot of his success.
So, two questions. One, do you think Kevin Stefanski is a 50-50 ball type of guy?
I mean, I think if he has the right quarterback, he's any kind of guy, to be honest with you.
That part is true.
If you have the right quarterback, that's not a 50-50 ball. That's an offensive weapon that puts a lot of pressure on a defensive back. So, like, I get what you're saying. And, like, we obviously aren't equipped with, like, a quarterback to take advantage of these things. But just in terms of what the offense does well, I mean, maybe Boston being a high point guy would be a really good benefit.
See, and just for myself, I sort of err on the side of Ben Johnson, who like came out today and said, I don't like 50-50 balls. I want open receivers.
Yeah.
I agree with him. Like, I'd rather just get open guys as opposed to saying we're going to just sort of brute force it, which obviously has its place. I mean, God knows I watched the Rams do that to Jacksonville in a glorious, glorious victory overseas with Devontae Adams. It has its value, but I don't like living in that world. I would rather just get open guys, which is one of the reasons obviously I sent you stuff on him. Like, if I can't get Mekhi Lemon, who I absolutely love, or I can't get Carnell Tate, who does some of those deep ball things, which would be nice. Like, I love what Chris Bell does.
Yeah.
Because he's a get open, operate in traffic, big body dude.
Hands catcher. That's big for me. I love guys that snatch the football. I hate the body stuff.
It's transition from catch to go, which is always one of those, like, one of the reasons I had, one of my successes in draft prognostication was Keenan Allen. He was my wide receiver one that year because he was so smooth between catch point and then whatever else he was going to do. I think Chris Bell has a little of that. And it's a really obnoxious comparison because it's entirely unfair. But like, watching Chris Bell, he's not this, but he just had shades of T.O. In terms, and obviously T.O. could do some of those things, but just a bully in traffic type element to him. I
was going to say a little Brandon Marshall.
Yeah, that's probably a more accurate thing. Although Marshall was bigger, 6'4", but just a bully. And he gives you the size that we seemingly crave.
Yeah.
But he also gives you run after catch ability, which I think this team needs. And again, it a lot of this depends on what Kevin Stefanski wants. But like, until he calls me and asks me later in the before the draft, he feels to me like a guy that the Browns would like at that position. Just that's my view of it. Chris Bell sort of jumps out as me as a guy where I sit here and go, I think that's a kind of guy they want, but we shall see. But that's the thing where I get a little bit worried about the Jaguars pick is I don't like being in sort of no man's land. So I'm certainly hoping that, if a terrible illness would befall that team or something along those lines, that they really start losing some football games and they just go full Falcons, I would very, 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 very much appreciate it.
Yeah, it'd be nice. And if maybe the teams that play against them can maybe limit turnovers and all that stuff, that'd be sweet too. We get a group effort on this. All right, so let's talk about we had some pretty good quarterback play, college football weekend. Ty Simpson.
A couple of really good weeks.
Yeah. Ty Simpson showed some flashes, didn't have a great game. They wound up losing. But I think we're in complete agreement on Ty Simpson. The arrow's pointing straight up for that kid. I love what he does. I love how he plays. What did you think about Mendoza this weekend?
Well, let's start with that. That was my matchup this week. It was Ty Simpson versus Brett Venables' defense.
Mm-hmm.
Brett Venables' defense is incredible. Like I really liked Jalen Milroe last year, and he absolutely got destroyed by by Oklahoma's defense last year. Like, it was abominably bad. Just kept throwing them the ball. They kept fooling him and all this other stuff. And Ty Simpson had some mistakes. He obviously threw the pick six, but he threw for 300 and something yards and like a couple touchdowns. And just there's no running game for Alabama. It's all him. Yeah. And he is just really, really good at just understanding the type of things he does. And he has some Baker Mayfield in him in the sense that he's got good feet. He's not a great athlete. And then his violent throwing motion is very similar to what Baker Mayfield had coming out of college. And what that sort of gets you at times is some inconsistency in terms of ball placement. There are times where he's got an open guy and he's trying to whip that thing out there and it will just sail on him because it's so fast. He's throwing his arms so hard with just the way, whereas, and let's make the contrast to Mendoza. He is very smooth, very easy thrower, less likely to have those things. Now, at the same point, Ty Simpson can also get the ball up very quickly as a result of being so explosive, but he throws a lot of arm in his throws, which is something Baker Mayfield did quite a bit. And then there were times where, whether it was in college or particularly in his time with the Browns, where he would just miss and usually high because of that explosive motion. So those are the things you sort of get there with Ty Simpson, but just in terms of where his eyes are, his feel for the pocket, what he's trying, he will take some sacks that I don't love. Increasingly, we're seeing a lot of guys take a ton of sacks, which I don't really enjoy. But he does a lot of things where I sit there and go, man, he's got a good feel for it. And obviously the experience is a factor, but that was a really fun matchup, even though Oklahoma ultimately prevailed and beat him, but he's really good. Mendoza, I on the one hand, he is really polished in terms of how he throws the football when he knows where he wants to go. Beautiful motion, easy because he's so big and strong. It looks effortless a lot of the time. He moves reasonably well, but it does feel a little bit robotic in terms of his delivery.
Yeah.
And then, there are times where he can be downright brilliant. But he also has points in games, even against inferior opponents, where you just go these lulls and he's just not doing very much. And he has the ability to do that because Indiana is good enough where they're not like stressed. And it's not like he has to carry them, whereas Ty Simpson had to try to win the football game, which just provides a different dynamic. But then every so often, Mendoza will just go bing, 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 touchdown. And they are really pretty throws, really good stuff. His mobility is way better than Ty Simpson. He has the starting experience, which I favor.
It's about 6'5", 225, 230.
Huge,
nice build.
Huge.
Yeah.
And it's weird to say this because he's played so much more football, but I do feel like Mendoza's upside is a little bit more
Yeah,
and some of
I
that's
agree with that.
tools. But I just feel like there's more for him to gain as he gets better and just figure out the different tools he has at his disposal. Now, what you worry about with a guy like with a guy like Mendoza is not that I think he's going to be Trevor Lawrence, but you have this guy who's coming out of college and you're sitting there and go, oh my God, look at all these things he can do. And it never gets any better.
Yeah.
And I think Mendoza would be fine in that scenario. I think Trevor Lawrence is below average, where I think Mendoza would at least be like sort of middle of the pack.
Yeah.
But I think the bet you're making, and this ultimately comes down to getting a feel for these two kids. And I don't have any feel for Ty Simpson. I don't know that I've actually heard him talk. Yeah. And Mendoza just screams Andrew Luck nerd to me, which is fine.
This is perfect.
Does he have the drive to get better? It seems like Mendoza does. He does take some big hits and gets up. And there was one hit where he got up real slow, and I was sort of going, oh, I don't know. But just in general,
he had a visit to the 10 at one point.
I do feel like there's just a lot. I do feel like there's more untapped ability with Mendoza where he can continue to grow. And that part of it's really exciting. Like, obviously I'm going to eventually go. There's still more football to be played. I will continue to say this every time. And I'm going to go back through this. But like right this second, I'm happy with either one if they end up on the Cleveland. Like that's where I'm at right now. It's like, to me, I'm thrilled if I have either one of those on my football team, and especially if I don't have to trade to get them. And if I kind of favor Ty Simpson. I will fall in love stylistically, just the way he plays. There's a certain little element that he brings where I just like how he operates. I like even after he threw the pick six, I like the way how he responded in that game. And just got right back.
I like the aggressiveness which he attacks the defense with. He attacks the defense. He throws it. I like that. And that reminds me of Baker. Baker used to put defenses on their heels, man. I like that.
Yes. There's a little bit of a, if you want to call it swag or whatever, he's got that confidence he threw for something like, what was it? Like 30 some passes in the first half and completed 22 of them and had like 260 yards in the first half. And you're just like, it doesn't feel like it.
No,
because it's just what they do. And that's the part where I sit here, and if you're asking me, gun to my head, I think Ty Simpson's probably more in Kevin Stefanski's wheelhouse. But I think, I don't sit here and go, well, he's not going to want Mendoza. I just sit there and go.
It's interesting that you say that. I would think that he would lean towards Mendoza, personally.
I don't know. And again, this comes down to whatever my vision of this, because I sit here and go, well, he wants run after catch. He wants throwing on time and all these other things. And I think Ty Simpson does a really good job of that. But it's not to say that Mendoza doesn't. I want to see what I really want to see, I guess, from Mendoza. I want to see more in terms of tests. And no, I'm not going to get in some convoluted, stupid. Like one of the things I'm already tired of is where we saw this with Mendoza once, and Dante Moore, who I think is going back to school, and they're like, top pick drive here. It's like, stop it. I don't care about this. I just want to see him in situations. I want to see how he reacts. If he failed against Penn State, you were not going to honestly tell me you didn't want him at that point. Like, who are we kidding?
Yeah.
You want to see how he reacts and see if he can sort of do the thing. And he did. He was great. But I didn't elevate him because of that.
Think about it like this. How many Browns fans now are saying we should have taken Jackson Dart at 5 or Jackson Dart at number 2? But you go back to draft season. It's like, did you see him against Florida? You can't take him in the first round. That's the game.
Yeah.
That's the game.
I mean, and that's even that. Like when I broke down Jackson Dart, I said, like in my review, watch Florida first. Yeah. Watch that game first, because he has 7 big-time throws, and you see them throughout the game before he ultimately falls apart at the end of that. But yeah, I agree. I don't want to get caught up to. Yes, late game situations matter. High pressure situations are certainly. I want to see how they react in those situations, but I'm not making it an all-encompassing. If he does well here or he doesn't do well here determines much of anything. It's just another data point that intrigues me. But both of these guys look like they're going to make the playoff, which I'm thrilled for, because I want to see them play more high-stakes football.
More football. Hell yeah.
And then, I want to see, Mendoza hasn't really been tested all that much. Obviously, Oregon was sort of their most difficult opponent. Penn State had real NFL defenders, so it was challenging, and he had the great moment. I'm hoping we get a couple more of this. It's the one benefit, as much as I don't like the extended playoff, because I just get to a point where I'm like, there are just so many games. It's just more risk for injury for these guys. Yeah. The one position where you're sitting there, go, give me all the football I get. Play 50 is quarterback, because you never have enough experience. So I can't wait. But right this second, I'm thrilled with either one on my football team.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. And that's the thing. I like Simpson, and I like Simpson's upside, but there seems like a real nice safety net with Mendoza. He's not only has he had like the high end production at 2 different programs, 2 different coaching staffs, 2 different sets of teammates, but he's got that NFL body. He has that NFL athleticism. He has the NFL arm. He's got NFL accuracy. And whereas I don't know how ultimately good he's going to be, I think it's a very safe bet that he's at least going to be pretty good if you put him in a good situation.
I just have a very difficult time seeing him be a complete failure. Like I don't see wild bust. And again, we're going to have to find out. We've talked about this before. I think him getting 2 staffs and 2 schools and 2 all these things worth of people to talk to, I think teams are going to have a really good feel for him. Hopefully it's positive. Hopefully, both these kids are great. Yeah. And then hopefully the Browns are in position to get them. But I have a really like Ty Simpson, for all the things I like about him, I really like him. I think there's significantly more risk with him.
Oh yeah. His size scares me.
I don't know about size necessarily. There's just less there. When you have less of a track, he could be really hot for his season just play great. And then he has it all figured out. And then it just doesn't translate. We've seen this with any number of quarterbacks. Like there have been any number of one-year wonders in college that just did not pan out. Now, the same point, Joe Burrow is pretty damn good, despite the fact he was basically a one-year wonder. Mm-hmm. So that's where I said that's the other part is I think Fernando Mendoza is a little bit safer. He may not end up being quite as good as potentially Ty Simpson can be. Perhaps that's maybe too far in the weeds. Maybe there's a little bit more volatility where maybe Fernando Mendoza is never going to be more than maybe top 12 quarterback, which is basically what you need. Yeah. And then the argument goes, well, if we're taking a swing, I want the guy who can either, maybe ends up being a bust, but has the potential to be, top 10, top 5 type quarterback. And that's where you get into those type of conversations. Maybe Mendoza can be better than that. Like there's nothing out there that really stops me and going, he can't get better at this or any of those things. And maybe I will find something when I watch him on tape. But to this point, I just see a very, very good prospect.
Pete, let me ask you this. Because you still, it's been a disastrous season, but you still hear his name in mock drafts and all that stuff. And there's so much talent there. But Lenora Sellers either like he's got to hit the portal personally, but it's either portal or NFL draft for me. Another year in South Carolina, I think does him absolutely no good. And whereas if I were him, I go to the portal. I probably try to go down to Miami and take over for Carson Beck and try to rebuild my draft stock there. But what's your take on Lenora Sellers? For me, he's leaning towards the undraftable.
He's not undraftable, but the sacks are preposterous. Yeah. Like he is, and this is where I sit here and, you watch Shedeur Sanders on Sunday and my immediate reaction is, no, I'm not doing this with Lawrence Sellers because he just takes awful sacks. That last drive of the game was just disgusting. Just throw it away. Just do anything other than take a sack. And he just kept doing it. And 4th and 16 or whatever, he tries to run. Yeah.
Honestly, he had a Shedeur second half, and he had it on the college level. Like that's absurd.
Because the throws he can make, you sit there and go, man. And if you're a team and this is why it's not undraftable, because if I'm the Browns, I don't want him. Yeah. But if I'm the Bills, and I want to take him in round 3,
and plug him behind Josh,
and I'm just gonna leave him here for a while, or I'm a team that has the Bills aren't a great example, but because Josh Allen should have a lengthy career in front of him, but they've at least got the blueprint of what it looks like to deal with a quarterback that very toolsy but needs significant work, which is what Josh Allen did. But if you're a team that has sort of a established quarterback that maybe is going to take a while, and then yeah, I'm sort of interested in what you can do as a reasonable swing in the third round. I suspect he goes earlier than that, though. I suspect if he went to the draft, it's probably close to the second round. But then again, maybe I'm wrong, because we just saw the NFL this year took a pretty clear line of delineation between guys that the NFL believed could start, which included Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, and Tyler Shuck. And then there was a pretty substantial gap before we got to Jalen Milroe, Dylan Gabriel. I'm sure I'm missing somebody else. And then obviously Shedeur Sanders in round 5. But like after Tyler Shuck, there's a gulf before we get to another quarterback. And maybe Lenore Sellers would end up on the wrong side of that track, but it just would not surprise. And the reason, Jalen Milroe in a lot of ways is, to me, a better version of Lenore Sellers. He's not as big, not as strong, can't throw quite as well, and needs more work from that standpoint. He was way more efficient in college. Yeah. He's also really smart and does a lot. Seems to be an extraordinarily good kid. I don't know Lenore Sellers from that standpoint, but like
that's so. The word is Sellers is a really good kid too, but there hasn't been,
but
really any development, the quarterback development on Sellers this year. It's just it seems like everything's kind of going in reverse.
Milroe, he graduated in like 2.5 years. Like everybody's telling him to go back to school. He'd gotten his master's. There was no more school for this kid. He won the Campbell Award, which is like the academic Heisman.
Yeah.
And then was like regarded as an extraordinary leader. Like these are all things where I'm sitting there going, he's got all these tools and all these things, like sign me up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like even in that bucket, Jalen Milroe didn't go until round 3. So that's why I sort of pegged the third round as sort of maybe the Lenore Sellers sweet spot. I don't want to say that you can't go back to South Carolina, because maybe they can do something that's going to sort of like fix the offensive line and do a whole bunch of other things. But I'm more inclined to say, get the hell out of there and go somewhere else. I mean, I'm saying that to basically every quarterback in South Carolina, hint, Clemson, get the hell out. Portal, go somewhere else, do the Cam Ward thing. Cam Ward was obviously a 5th round pick projection, coming out of Washington State, goes to Miami, first pick in the draft. Carson Beck not going to have quite that bit of a reclamation project. I just don't see it. I don't know that he's going to talk themselves into Carson Beck at this point. Hopefully that's Pittsburgh. But other than that, if it's Miami, if there's some other team that's out there that makes sense, yeah, I could see that being the play. And the way the portal works, until they sort of legislate it, he can flirt with whoever he wants and find out the perfect deal before actually getting into the portal. And chances are he will have long made a decision before any portal situation has been worked out. But the development, I won't say he hasn't developed at all, but the problem is that he may have developed as many bad habits as he has good, in the same way that Shedeur Sanders did at Colorado. Like it just kept reinforcing more and more bad habits to continue playing for that program.
Yeah. How about this was the belle of the ball just a few months ago, but I feel like Arch Manning is starting to make progress, and he's starting to make legitimate progress as a passer and as just the athlete and the prospect that we thought he was. Texas certainly, they got absolutely torn up by Georgia, but you can tell with Arch out there, you can tell the talent. You can see it. Like he really is a very talented kid. What's your take on his development over the course of the last month and a half?
It's about what I'd expect for a kid who had barely played. Like,
yeah,
the hype was out of control for him because his name was Manning, and it wasn't a highly recruited kid. I mean, Ohio State bent over backwards and like everybody else did to try to get him. Nick Saban might still be coaching if he has Arch Manning. But, progress and development is not linear. It's not defined. It's leaps and bounds. And he just hadn't played much football, and he went to a program that had a quarterback, didn't need him, and then he got to beat up on Rice, and some other, jobbers to get stats going and look pretty good, and like against basically what amounted to be JVs, and people projected him way out of control. And the talent is obvious, but he just needs to play a lot. He needs to continue playing. And unfortunately, like, they go and get drilled by Georgia. He was fine. You didn't come out of that game going, man, that's the guy I want leading my NFL team.
Yeah.
He's just a nice college quarterback right now, and can continue to be a nicer college quarterback with more time and development. We'll see if Steve Sarkisian is still there with that whole weird situation.
Yeah.
But like, if he continues playing, I think he's going to get to be really good. And the thing is, he can, if he wants to, play 2 more years. He's a redshirt sophomore. And Texas has a shot at making the playoff. He could end up getting more games there. Like, he could be a really good player. And all this talk of Heisman Trophy, and like, that is still there for him. I suspect he stays at Texas, because unless the receiver leaves, Ryan Wingo is like one of those dudes who's going to be there in 2027. I don't think he's in a hurry to run away from that. So they've got guys, they've got talent. I think it makes sense for him to sort of continue to develop and just get better and better and better, because I think it's there for him. It's just going to take a minute. And all the Mannings took forever.
Yeah. Well, and look, and I agree with that. And if you go back to the level of competition he played in high school, it was very, very low. So the whole going to a big time program like Texas and all that, it was going to be more of a jump than we all expected, but I don't think anybody expected the slow start for Texas like it was this year. But hey, man, that's the name of the game. Doesn't matter what your last name is. That's the toughest position in sports, But either way, Pete, 2 hours always flies by. It is always a pleasure. Thank you guys for sticking with us on the OBR streaming network here. And let's go Browns. Good luck to Shedeur on Sunday. Let's hope they get some good work in and make it happen. You got any early predictions? I mean, I probably got 260 yards, 3 touchdowns. What do you think for Shedeur? What do you got, Pete? Don't give me that eye roll. Don't give me that eye roll.
I have no idea. I legitimately have no idea.
It wasn't even a real question. I'm just messing with you.
No idea.
Well, either way, thank you guys for sticking with us. We will be back next Tuesday, same time, same place. Have a great week, boys. Go Browns.